Now, back to Access Tech Live.
Back on the show, Mark Aflalo and Alex Smythe sitting in for Stephen Scott. So we heard from the co-head of the CYBATHLON, but what's it like to compete on such a global stage? Joining us now is Jamie Borosoff, a professor at the British Columbia Institute of Technology and part of the BCI team that will be competing at this October at the CYBATHLON. Jamie, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Pleasure to be here.
So, Jamie, why did you want to get involved with the BCIT team and compete at the CYBATHLON?
Well, for, I guess, a variety of reasons. We've been working in this area for, well, probably a decade, trying to develop better assistive technologies, especially around wheelchair design. So it's something we do, something we love to do, something we go after funding opportunities and different grants and partners and that sort of thing to try to really innovate in that area. So we're in the space, and we came across the CYBATHLON many years ago. Actually, I remember watching the first competition online and seeing all the good stuff coming out of it, and really getting a good understanding that this is a competition that really fosters research and development, fosters innovation, and just forces you to really innovate and be part of something, you know, that spurs you forward really and brings in excitement and dollars and people to work on these hard problems.
And it pushes accessibility forward, which is so cool and which, you know, works perfectly well with our mission here. Can you describe the specific tech or innovation that your team has developed for this year's competition?
We are entering a wheelchair into the wheelchair competition. As you probably know, there's 10 different competitions or disciplines at the CYBATHLON. We're entering the wheelchair competition. Our goal in the biggest picture is to innovate in the space of actually manual wheelchairs and not power wheelchairs. But one of the big thrusts over the last decade in manual wheelchairs is attaching electrical motors and accessories and different devices to manual wheelchairs to make them more capable, give them more features, more power, more function to do different tasks in the community. So we are again, our broad goal is to use a manual wheelchair with attachments to enter a power wheelchair competition, which is kind of exciting. Now, that's a broad goal. That's going to take us a few years to get to it. Right now, we will be entering a power wheelchair. But when we make decisions about how to design different parts, different features, we're doing it under the guidance of wanting to eventually make these into modular attachments to a manual wheelchair.
How has this whole process kind of created more appreciation for the challenges around inclusion and accessibility for folks with disabilities and kind of the issues and barriers they face on a daily basis? Well,
we've been in this space for a long time, so I guess it hasn't opened up too many more understanding of the issues. We know what they are. What it's really done, I think, is really given us some really good insight into how difficult it is to tackle some of these issues. And it's really interesting, right? Because we're trying to design a wheelchair that goes upstairs, and as I think your team knows, and listeners know, well, it would be better to change the environment, right? To make stairs less of an issue. So it's interesting to start thinking about these trade-offs, right? Between what kind of piece of technology can do and what can we do as a community or society to alter the environment. That being said, one of the areas that we're really keen on that is not quite part of this CYBATHLON competition, but part of our broader goals is accessibility in the natural environment. I would like to see wheelchairs be able to go on beaches and into trails and into forests and these areas that, you know what, we don't want to pave them. We don't want to make them necessarily easy to get to in the sense of taking away from what makes the natural environment really unique and interesting. So that's where we think that, devices and better designs can help.
Jamie, events like the CYBATHLON really are kind of interesting because it's creating a challenge, but at the same time, it's raising a lot of awareness about, disability and promoting inclusivity. What role do you think the CYBATHLON has in that scope? Obviously, it opened my world up. I didn't know about it before this, and obviously we're down this rabbit hole. But do you think it plays a pretty significant role in raising awareness about disability and inclusion?
I think absolutely does. It probably plays a role similar to what the Paralympics does for sport and disability. Obviously, both these, I look at it in a lot of the same way. I've actually been at the Paralympics as a competitor as well, and that's one of the reasons I think I've been so interested in the CYBATHLON as well from a engineering standpoint. It kind of has that parallel with the Paralympic sport. And any city that hosts the Paralympics all of a sudden becomes more accessible. The people there again become more aware of the issues and start seeing people with disabilities do all these amazing things. The CYBATHLON is doing the same thing. And I think they're doing a lot better job now too of having these satellite competitions, just having it more televised, having more streaming, having more access to the world to see these events and see what's happening. And we hopefully we'll see the same things happening here. We expect BCIT. We already know with BCIT as an institution is getting behind our competition entrance, and they're going to be talking about us. They're going to be showcasing what we're doing, and that's going to bring great awareness here locally. And at the same time, probably through streaming and other means, and through TV shows like yourself, bring that much in a broader sense as well.
I'm sure there's been a lot of moments in this journey and leading up to this competition of both breakthroughs and maybe setbacks. As you mentioned, you are entering a manual wheelchair into a power chair competition. Are there any moments that really stand out to you that you have that are memorable in this journey so far from when you started to where we are now?
Well, the first time we were able to go up the staircase, which is pretty exciting. That's, technically from a power standpoint and stability standpoint, probably the most difficult of our tasks that we have to do. So that was exciting, being able to do that. On the flip side is when something is, broken. One of our frames has broken in the middle of the staircase, for instance. So that's the flip side of these things. They're exciting. On one hand, and of course, when it does break, we learn something as well. So we don't take it very as negatively as one might, because we're going to learn something from the setbacks as well.
Jamie, I find that it's kind of interesting because this almost gamifies development and pushes it forward and kind of adds that competition element of things. What's the reaction been from your team in terms of motivation to compete? Does it drive them a little bit more because they're going against other people?
I think you're absolutely right. It does gamify things. It makes the competition is, I think, important to the success. Everybody on our team has a kind of a competitive spirit. They have a background in different active things in life. Mountain biking, for instance, one of our guys is a surfer. Obviously, there's myself with Paralympic sport background. So I think we, as a team, we're very much interested in that and respond to that well. It's been great. Deadlines are important as well in any kind of project management when you're trying to have big things, having deadlines and milestones. That just really makes you get things done.
Love it. I love it. We're definitely going to be following the team, of course, Jamie, and of course the whole BCI team and yourself. And we hope to chat more with you after. I'd love to hear about the experience. Obviously, it's not the first time, but I'd love to hear about the development after the event, obviously this October.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to come back and tell you how we did.
Thank you, Jamie. Good luck in October. When we return, Google's opening accessibility discovery centers, but what are they? And why are they important? Google's Christopher Patno is with us next here on Access Tech Live.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back.